Hey, Programming 12, we're going to talk now about making arrays. An array is like a variable that can store many separate unique values. And you can think of it sort of like a book, whereas a variable is maybe like a piece of paper where you can write down one number or one value, whatever the variable happens to store. An array is like a book with many, many pages upon which to write many different values. And just like a book which has page numbers, an array has index values or index numbers, indices, and you can use a number to flip to the right page to retrieve the number that you wanted to have. An array is really useful because it allows you to just declare one sort of super variable, the array, and have many, many variables to work with. And so this can be helpful for all sorts of different things. So we'll take a look at an example of an array, and we'll combine it with the while loop stuff we did as well. So here's how you make an array. I'm just going to make an int array to start with. So normally with a regular int, you might say int x, but an int array, you would put in these brackets, the square brackets. They're just called brackets, really. And then you give it a name. So I'll have numbers, maybe is my name of this array. And right now, we've just declared it. It's not really finished yet. We haven't done anything in particular with it. So we still need to do something where we tell the array how many indices or how many elements it'll have. If you're using the book analogy, it's like how many pages are in a book. So we'll say numbers equals new int array. And then inside of this space, we can give it the numbers. So let's say we wanted 100 pages in our array, 100 indices. This is how we would do it right here. Technically, you can combine this in one line, but it's not always possible to do that. Sometimes you'd like to, declare this as a global variable and then assign it later on. So I'm going to put these separate, but just know that technically you are able to do this as well. You can declare it, and instantiate is the right word. Create it when all at the same time if you want to. But I'm going to keep these separate for now because that's often how we'll see it. Okay, so wow, we got this amazing book. It's got 100 pages. So how do we work with it? How do we open the book and record numbers? So the easiest way to do it is just to use the array's name, so numbers, and then you give it the page number in square brackets. So I could say page 0. The first page is page 0, by the way. It starts counting from 0, which means it goes from 0 to 99. That gives you 100 pages. So that's a little awkward because in a 100-page book, the last page is 99. Okay, I guess it's fine, but it is a little bit tricky. So if we want to record a value, maybe I want to record 16. So I can write, the variable number 16 on page 0. And I can go to the next page, and I can say, oh, let's record 16 there as well. Let's put another number there. Or you can put a different value. You can put 26 there. Whatever it is you want to put in there, this is how you would work with it. And if you want to read that value, like if you wanted to say print line numbers sub 0, that's how you pronounce that, by the way. Sub is usually like subscript. That is the way you would access it. So basically, you can use this just like any variable, like x or whatever you want, but you give the name of the array and the index or page number of the particular value that you're going to work with. So that's sort of the mechanics of it. Just to prove this works, we'll see that 16 does get printed out. We assigned it a 16, and then we saw that indeed it printed out 16. 16 was stored there. All right, so exciting times. But let's talk about while loops now. So one of the cool things about while loops is that you can drive a number to automatically assign values into arrays. So how in our last video we did sort of int I equals 0 while I is less than whatever number, I plus plus, or I think we actually did I equals I plus 1. You could rewrite this as I plus plus. That's the same thing as increasing by 1. This while loop structure, I'm just going to move this down a bit, is really great to work with arrays. Really, really great. And the way you could do it is basically this I value you could plug into the page number slot or the index slot. So I can say numbers sub I equals 16. So this is fantastic because now I can go to all 100 pages and write down the number 16 in just like 4 lines of code. So this is good. If I was to try to run this, we'll see that no errors happen. And just to prove, let's say numbers sub 99. Let's maybe print out this value. Print line numbers sub 99. Do we get 16? Yeah, look, there it is. Woo, 16. So we've clearly, we could exhaustively check it by doing another loop. So we could say int I equals, I guess we already have an I. So we could just reset I back to 0. We've already declared that. We can basically use the same loop, except this time what we can do is print line numbers sub I. And maybe just to confirm, we'll print out the I, the index, and what's stored there. So with this while loop, it's the same basic structure, but now I'm printing out the values. And you can see, sure enough, on like page 83, the number 16 is stored. And page 84, number 16 is stored, and so on. It goes all the way back to the first page. So while loops are really designed to work with your arrays and automate boring tasks. One thing that you might want to change in these is to connect the length of the array directly. So right now what we're doing is we have the number 100 here and down here. That's fine, but if I decide actually I need 1,000 numbers, then I have to remember to adjust these numbers too. Not great. So what I prefer to do is, this is fine. I can declare whatever number I want. But then in order to interact automatically with an array, I can say numbers.length. So this just tells processing how long the array is. So if I say it was 1,000, this will be 1,000. I could put that here as well, numbers.length. So what's the big deal? Well, now if I decide there's 10,000 numbers, I can just change this without changing these ones as well. So it's just creates less of a chance to make a mistake. So that's the story there. One last thing, I guess I'll just confirm. 10,000 is pretty annoying. I guess we'll run. We can see, it goes all the way up to 9,099. And you see how that loop, we didn't do really any more work, but now it worked for 10,000 numbers, right? I didn't really do any more work. I can make it work for 100,000 numbers. And it's no extra work really for me. So building in these loops and working with data structures makes for very efficient code. Okay, so that's the story about arrays. In our next thing we're going to do, we're going to combine arrays and loops, and we're going to make an animated GIF come to life. So take a look at those videos, and I hope that makes sense, and I hope you enjoy working with those. Okay, thanks everybody.